welcome to Just Crafting Around. I'm Kelly Brandner and I will be your host. Today we are going to be making some colorful crosses. I've made a couple different ones here and we are going to be making something a little bit bigger in size, and we are also going to be doing that one different as well. This one right here is just flat wood. What it is back here is it is a piece of plywood, a thinner piece of plywood, and then I took the thin pieces of wood right here, which are craft sticks. You can get them, I've only found them in two sizes. One is a little bit longer and wider, and then compared to this one right here. What I did was I took them, I kind of decided what colors I had, what colors I like. You can make these, you can decide on 2 colors or three different colors. Sky's the limit. Whatever you want to make. I decided to make it pretty colorful. The reason why I picked this is because I have a smaller skill saw, table saw here, which I can make just about any shape or size that I want to, because I can cut it. If you're going to be using the harder wood, the wood that comes from pallets and stuff, it is a harder wood to cut. I'm not able to do it with my little table saw here. I actually need to use my bigger table saw, but then you can't get the pieces very little, or as little as what I would like. Also, if you use a lot of the hardwood, it becomes heavier. Your cross is going to become much heavier because of the pallet wood that you're using. So for this one right here, I just used the craft sticks that we have. And like I said, 2 different craft sticks, 2 different sizes. You can probably find more sizes than that. Again, this one is just made from that. I cut another one out the exact same size, and I wanted it into like a 3D look. So what I used here is I did have some leftover pallet wood, and I did take it down to the size that I thought I could without cutting my finger off on the table saw. And this is how this one here turned out. Again, this here is the pallet wood. I've used the back right here, and what I'm going to do with the back of this is I'm going to stain it so that when I do hang it on the wall and you do see a little bit of the back of it, that this here part looks as nice as well. So this here, like I said, is just some thinner plywood that I used. Again, I kind of picked the different colors. I wanted it to be colorful, kind of a stained glass look, and I wanted a 3D look. So again, I used the thicker wood. This wood right in here is from this here, right here. Then what I did was, after I glued them on, I decided maybe I wanted to distress them a little bit. And I didn't want the colors to be quite so vivid. So what I did, and I did learn a lot from doing this, what I was going to do first, what I wasn't going to do anymore, I just took a piece of sandpaper. Now, as you can see, this is a lot easier to sand than what this one was because of the different heights and stuff. If I'd have to do it again, what I would do is lay the pattern out like this on the cross, and then I would distress it before I glue the blocks on. So again, I learned a lot from this whole process of what I want to do. So with these 2 right here, I will go through the process of how I made these. And again, we're going to make this one here. It is bigger. It is quite a bit bigger. I don't want to use the hardwood because I don't want the cross to be so terrible heavy. So I'm not going to be using any pallet wood on this bigger one. We're going to trim it out. What we did was kind of took a template, had my husband cut it out. Again, plywood. I'm going to take a piece of sandpaper or a sand block. I've been using a sand block lately. I really like these. You can get these in fine, you can get them in medium, whatever you're looking to get, whatever you want to use. When you do cut the plywood, of course you get the little deals here from the saw. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some sandpaper. I'm going to sand the back, I'm going to sand the front. Just lightly, because it's going to be covered up with wood, but I still don't want the prickly little pieces of wood hanging there. So I'm going to sand this all, just give it a very light sanding, sand the sides a little bit. Again, there's a little bit of imperfection When you do sawing always gives you somewhat of an imperfection, but it doesn't matter because we're going to be covering it with the wood anyway. So just the light sanding, just to get those little pricklies off. Remember, when we do the front, we do the back as well. What I usually do is I don't put any hangers on until I'm done, because I'm not sure what I want to do with this. I may not want to hang this. I may want to set it somewhere, let it stand up. Different things that I probably want to do with it. So I'm not so sure that I'm going to put a hanger on it right away. So we're going to clean up the table. And then we're going to start our process. Like I said, this one here is going to be a little bit different than the other two. And when you start a craft project, kind of have your stuff laid out, get prepared, get organized. Good thing to use that I found is like for my brushes and stuff, I like to have an array of different kinds of brushes. Different brushes put sometimes the paint on a little bit differently. What I use at home a lot of times are tin cans, and I just kind of do something with them so that it just doesn't look like a plain tin can. So I like to have my stuff all in one spot so that I'm not moving around and spending a lot of time either going upstairs into my craft room, going into the base room, into the craft room, and now I've kind of spread out into the living room, which is now my living craft room. So I've got stuff kind of a little bit all over. I'd like to try to get it organized by the time I'm done with the project so that everything is put away in its spot. And before you start a craft project, as always, don't forget the coffee.
As the demand for advanced broadband and cloud-based services continues to grow, so does our commitment to you, our members. We are committed to providing you with the newest technologies and fastest broadband speeds available anywhere. Watch for the exciting details on faster speeds and new broadband packages coming soon.
Okay, so what I did was made a template. We got this cut out now. We've got it pretty well ready to go. I decided what colors that I wanted to use. I, again, like to use chalk paint when I do stuff because, for number one, it dries easily. It dries easy and it dries fast. It also, a lot of times, you only need to put one coat on. It doesn't seem to, the wood doesn't seem to bleed through. That's just my opinion. I have tried different kinds of chalk brands. I have used the Walmart brand. I think it's called Waverly. I do like that. I've got some right here where I have used the Americana decor. This comes from Hobby Lobby. I do like this as well. And then, of course, I have tried the home decor, the folk art, and that chalk paint comes from Joann's Fabrics. And then Target has now come out with a pretty nice section, actually, from their craft department, and that's called Handmade Modern. And I have used this as well. This is good. This is good chalk paint too. I don't really know which one is my favorite, to be honest with you. To do crafts, I've kind of come to the conclusion that I like them all, and they all have their own different colors. They've got their own different tints, again, different colors for different things that you want to do. A lot of times also I use and I find coupons. Go online and look to see if you can find coupons. Joann's Fabrics, Hobby Lobby gives you 40% off one item when you go in there. You could go in and every week pick up a different color and get the 40% off. There are certain brands that they don't allow the 40% off, so you can check that out as well. Okay, this one here, like I said, we're going to do a little bit differently. When I took these pieces, I kind of decided what colors I like, what colors I didn't like. I didn't have to do the ends here because we're going to nip these off. It's a little hard to do something to go around to get it to look a little bit different. What I did do was I painted these, I let them set overnight, I came back, sanded off the tops, sanded off the sides, and then I took some dark walnut stain. I did get this up at our local hardware store. In fact, everything except this right here, I did get up at our local hardware store. I've got some trim, got the plywood, got this kind of stuff, so we're good to go. Again, sanded the top just slightly, sanded the sides because I wanted that weird look. And now, what I also did was I cut some chunks of this off, and I actually had a little bit of material laying around, so I decided to use some material. I had some of the yellow, some of the gray. I did find a piece of lace that I had at home, and I thought that would be kind of cool to put on here as well. I also had the houndstooth, which I really like. And I had something that my daughter actually used when she covered one of her chairs. So it actually looks like leather, and I thought that would be kind of cool to put on here. What I did was I cut out a square of wood. I went and I just had a square that was a little bit bigger than what the size of the wood was, and I used some tack glue, and that tack glue is used for fabric and it also is used for wood. So I just glued around the edges like this, took it, laid it down, pressed it down real good, and then once it was dry, I took my scissor and went to the back and then cut the rest of it off. The tack glue you can get at Walmart, you can get at any crafts store. It works really, really well with fabric. You couldn't take this fabric off even if you wanted to. It stays on here very good once it's dry. Let it dry again overnight. I chose not to paint the board itself, the plywood. And I chose not to do it because we're going to cover it up anyway. Have a glue gun ready. What I also found at Walmart was Gorilla Glue, hot glue, Gorilla Glue. Didn't know they made it, but it really, really did work well when I put the different colors of wood on here. So I decided to try the Gorilla Glue and see how I liked it. So we got some Gorilla Glue, and then we've got a little handy saw over here. This little table saw cuts the wood, the craft wood that is about this thick. You cannot cut on here any wood it is a 4-inch saw. It's got a 4-inch saw blade. It won't cut the hard woods, such as the pellet wood. So that it won't do. We are ready. What I'm going to do is, like I said, I went to the hardware store and I found some trim. I'm going to first of all trim this out. So I'm going to measure the trim here, and then we are going to start cutting. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I am not going to do this that I'm going to miter the edges so that the edges meet up with each other. I'm not that good at doing this. So what I'm going to do on using the saw, what I'm going to do right now is I am just going to take it, I'm going to measure, and then I am going to saw it, and I'm just going to butt everything up to it. Take my little saw here. And if you don't have the saw, what you can use is if you've got some kind of a device where you can cut, which I have right here. I don't know if it'll cut something that thick, and it does, which is nice to know. You could use this if you've got any kind of a scissor, a very, very sharp scissor, you may be able to cut it, but being I have this handy dandy little saw, we are going to use that. I would do this in somewhat of a ventilated area. The reason that I would do this in a ventilated area or somewhere different is do it where you don't mind that you're going to have a little sawdust, because this will throw off some sawdust. So now I'm just going to take a little piece of sandpaper. And again, like I said, I want this to be rugged. I'm not looking for it to be perfect. Perfection isn't my deal. Now, as you can see, there are 3 sides to this. There's like a rounded side, and then there is a side that comes to a point. on here. What I'm going to do is I want to do the rounded part, and I'm going to have the rounded part that is going to be looking like this out front is where I want to have the rounded part. I don't want to have the rounded part like this in the inside, because when you look at it, I want the rounded part to be on the outside. So we are now going to take some Gorilla Glue. And like I said, we will have the next piece come and butt up against here. I'm good, but I'm not that good to where I can do angles yet, but that is definitely something I'd like to work on. I'm gonna glue that side right there. And now we're going to put it down. Just gonna hold it for a minute until it is pretty well dry, which does not take long. That is something that I really, really do like with the hot glue. It doesn't take long to dry. It really sticks well. Now if you have some that's coming out of the sides, try to get it off while it is still somewhat warm, because once it dries, it is not that easy to get off some of the places. And I want the wood to actually butt up against this side, the sides here. So I want to make sure and get the hot glue that seeped out off. Once I have that off, we're going to measure for the next one. Now, what I did with the trim was I decided to paint it white, and as you can see, it's not white. It kind of matches the color right now of the pine. You can either stain it, you can paint it. What I did was I painted it white. I sanded it off, sanded some of it off anyway, and then I went after it with the dark walnut stain. What I'm going to do now is take a little bit of the sandpaper, sand it so that I get the hot glue off, because you don't need much hot glue because this wood is not a heavy wood. That's also another good deal with it. It's not a heavy wood, so you don't need a whole lot, because all you're going to get is seep problems anyway. And I can see I used way too much glue already. Okay, and we are done with that section. And as you can see, I'm going to take the wood when I'm done, and I'm going to butt it up against there. Here's my rounded part, which I want. We're going to stagger different colors once we get to that portion of it. Now, I'm again going to take a very long piece of trim.
Get 3 months free access on all lines, plus a new 4G smartphone for only $4.99 a month. 2 great offers with Valley Cellular. Call Valley today at 437-2615 to take advantage of this great deal.
When I do that, I give Lauren anxiety. I like giving Lauren anxiety. Okay, we're going to measure. Measure twice, cut once. Take a little piece of sandpaper here, sand off the edges. You always get those little pieces of wood that like to pop out at you. Okay, and again, now this time I'm not going to put quite as much hot glue on as I did before. Well, maybe. Take it, set it, and watch your fingers. Actually burned my fingers pretty hard last week that I came out with blisters. Press it down, take off the excess. It's good to have a fingernail. One that you can really use. There we go. And we will continue. To measure and go around. I do love my little saw. Should really be wearing safety glasses when you do this. For number one, in case a piece of wood would come up and hit you in the eye, that would not be a good thing. The other thing is the sawdust. For the sawdust not to get in your eye. Be an issue as well. Okay, ready to put this down. What this is mostly is time-consuming stuff. Just preparation, time-consuming, getting things together. Again, decide what colors you want to use first. Use 2 colors, use 3 colors, use 1 color. Doesn't matter. Use different kinds of fabrics. If I would have had some kind of tin that was rusted, I would have used that as well. And put the tin in and wrapped it around one of those. I think that would have looked pretty cool. I have to get this off the end. Sometimes you don't get them as straight as you'd like to. Now I could do this and get them all measured out, have them all laid out, and then cut. Can do that too. Again, your preference on how you want to do it. As you can tell, this is just pretty much cut. Glue, put in place. Again, you don't have to do it this way. You don't have to. I just thought it would be something a little bit different than the other 2 that I've done. First one went real slow. Second one didn't take me probably more than a couple hours, I'd say. First one took me a lot longer than that because I really wasn't quite sure how I wanted to do it. The steps I wanted to use. I was kind of going by another picture that I found. Of course, I found this on Pinterest. I was trying to go look at the picture that I wanted it to look like. I didn't think it was looking that way. Tried something else, didn't like that. So it's all what you like. I saw one that had the different kinds of blues, and I'm a blue, I really, really like blue. Had blue and gray in it. It was very, very pretty. Very, very pretty. And here is where you can cover up the imperfections of the cutting. Again, you're going to want to take those edges off. The crafts that I do, I'm not perfect at them. A lot of times I do them how I like things done. I guess that is part of crafting, is do things the way you like them. Don't worry if anybody else likes them, they don't have to. I have to admit, I've come to actually love tools. I didn't know that I would be so happy when my husband bought me a table saw. Why would you be happy with a table saw? I was pretty impressed and pretty excited about that table saw. So now I guess that means I have to continue crafting. There's nothing like having a power tool in your hands. Okay, this is what it's looking like so far. And again, if you wanted to, you could have just stained these and stained them a little bit darker. But I thought the lighter color, being that I have a lot of these darker colors, was going to go well with the lighter color. I thought it would do more of a pop. So, continue onward here. Don't know if I'm going to have a big enough piece to go all the way around here, so what we're going to do is we'll probably have to stop and do the pieces a little, make a couple more of them, stain another section. And like I said, everybody has ideas of how things should be done. It's your call on how you want to do it. It's your project. Not everybody has to like it. I'll put something together and my husband will come downstairs and he'll ask me why I made that, or why I did this, or why I did that. That he would have done it a different way. I do take some of his suggestions. I don't take them all, or then he'd be expecting me to take his suggestions all the time. And I don't want that to happen. Hold it down for a little bit, wait for it to dry, and again, that's why it's good to have a fingernail. Take it off on the side. We'll continue this now until we've got it all the way down, and then we will get started on shaping the different colors that we have.
Valley Telecommunications, the home team advantage.
We have now completely finished taking our trimming out the cross. What we're going to do is, when we come back for the next show, I will show you how to take the different colors that we have, and we are going to fill in wherever there is space for us to fill in. We're going to cut different pieces. We're going to put them in differently. We're going to cut some smaller pieces. We're going to cut some bigger pieces. We're going to arrange them differently. Don't want everything to be, the wood to be going all the same direction. Come back in 2 weeks and we will be working on getting the different pieces and colors of wood put in. See you again next time.